Hey, what's up, everyone? You're currently tuned into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 in Santa Barbara and netnetradio.com Tijuana. Today, Lightalk and I are joined by Portland, Oregon-based Daryl Gresh, otherwise known as Emitter. Daryl's released a gargantuan catalog of over 100 releases under the moniker since 2003 to the present day. This year, though, Gresh put out 6 albums under his own name in the first half of 2022, culminating in last month's Dusk. He returned to the Emitter moniker. You can find Dusk on Hazu Mountain. How you doing, Daryl?
Good. Thanks, Thomas.
Yeah, super sick to have you on the show, man. Yeah, really enjoyed your last tape. But anyways, what have you been up to? I guess like since we're nearing the end of the year, how's the season been up in Portland? Yeah, what's been going on in your life? What's anything new?
I am just trying to learn some new equipment and make some, experiment with some new with some new hardware and just kind of generating stuff that I'll record at some point in the future.
That's cool.
Yeah, kind of an experimental area right now.
So everything's been generally like music related recently then for you?
More or less. Yeah. There's not been a ton else going on. No, it's like end of the year, holiday season. I'm just kind of staying inside. Experimenting with sounds and stuff. Yeah.
That's fair. Go ahead, Maddie.
Just for some of the viewers at home, because they may not be able to see if they're listening on the radio, you have a lot of gear behind you. Is any of that 2022 acquisitions?
No, this is all old stuff. I'm just in the basement. This is kind of my old studio area. I record a lot in a mobile fashion anymore. Like with the iPad. I use the iPad a lot, and so I don't really even sit down here to create music anymore. That's been a really liberating thing for me in the past few years, is just getting into making music anywhere. So it could be upstairs where there's windows or somewhere that's like not even at home.
Yeah.
But this is just like my old stuff basically. I still use it, but
do you ever find yourself, you're like, I'm going to the library today, I'm just going to get study room, make some music, going to the coffee shop, have to make some music for 8 hours.
I have not gone to the library. It's a good idea though, because it's pretty quiet there. Coffee shop, I don't know, might be distracting. But I have gone to the park and sat in my car, what have you, and been creative that way.
That's cool. We think that we've seen you have like a hiking hobby. Have you been do you go hiking often? Do you adventure in the mountains? Do you explore and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I'm here in Portland, Oregon, and there's a lot of nature kind of all around in every direction. Mm-hmm. And it's a big activity for me getting out. Less in the winter, but I do like getting out in the rain and in the snow some too.
Oh yeah. So
I haven't in the past month, but there's this forest park. It's just this big park in the city here, and it's just miles and miles of trails. So lots of times I'll just go there because it's 10 minutes from my house.
That's sick. Do you ever bring your iPad and kind of merge the two hobbies for you?
I don't, but I wear headphones a lot when I go hiking, and I listen to my own music a lot.
Yeah.
And that's a really good way. If I have works in progress, then I'll listen to them in that setting, and then I'll have all different, I'll hear it in a totally different way, and I'll get ideas for what I need to change. So that's something that's something I always do. Just I hike with headphones. And I know you're supposed to listen to birds and the wind and everything too, and I do that also. But I really like hiking with headphones, because listening to ambient music while hiking is just it's awesome,
Oh, I agree with you. One of my favorite times to listen to ambient is when I'm backpacking or something like that.
Oh, yeah?
Or when I'm just in the backcountry, just hanging out. that's like some of my favorite times to like listen to ambient.
Nice.
So, and I was going to say too, I feel like you don't need to feel bad about listening to music, because I feel like in the hiking community, I feel like that's generally becoming more of an accepted thing to do. I know,
Really?
for example, like a lot of like long distance hikers, like people that do like, through hiking, like on the PCT, for example, they will oftentimes just like hike with their phone and their headphones on, because like if you're going like 30 miles a day, sometimes it's like, sometimes you want to listen to some music, you know what I mean?
Oh, totally. That could totally motivate you and inspire you. The only issue I've ever had is people who bring like Bluetooth speakers, and
see, that's kind of obnoxious. Yeah.
Not a big deal if they turn it off when other people are around, but some people didn't get the memo about that. But anyway, other than that, yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Are you ever like backpacking at all, or is it mostly just like day hikes and stuff?
Just day hikes, really, sometimes really big day hikes. Like this past summer, I climbed Mount St. Helens. That was the big achievement of this year. And that's like get up really early and get out there. And it takes like 12 hours and then a couple hours driving home. But I don't really go camping anymore. I used to go camping and I used to do backpacking some too, but it's just a lot of extra preparation, and a lot of extra cleanup afterwards. And I just think day hikes are kind of where it's at.
It's a lot easier to just grab some water and head out on a trail rather than having to like figure out where you're going to go.
And then at the end of the day, you're at home.
Yeah. You don't got to worry about being chilly while you're sleeping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's cool though, man. How was Mount St. Helens? I listened to a podcast recently about Mount St. Helens, and I thought it was like so interesting how I guess like it just blew all the trees down or whatever. I mean, obviously that would happen, but I guess like there's so many like trees in the lake and everything.
You can still see that. Yeah, you can
that's
still see the effects of it.
Yeah, that's like what I was.
It's been 40 years, but you can still, and it's really cool how nature is like recovering. Like you can see all of that. But the climb was the most epic hike that I've ever done. It's beautifully laid out. You know how like a really good hike will have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then it kind of peaks and you get some spectacular view.
Oh yeah.
And there's like a composition to it, like the way that a hike is designed. Well, that hike is just so good because it starts off pretty flat. It's like in the woods and it's kind of gently going up, and then there's a section of like boulder climbing. You're like clambering over all these boulders. There's hardly even a trail. You're like on all fours.
That's
it's not like
intense,
rock climbing, like anyone could do it, but you're just climbing like on boulders, and then you get into where it's just like the pumice. And it's just like straight up.
Interesting.
It's like climbing a giant sand dune. And then when you get to the top, the view is just mind blowing. Because you're looking down into the crater.
Oh, right? Wow. That's cool.
And there's steam coming up, and there's
crazy.
Like boulders tumbling like in slow motion. Like you stand up there for like an hour just resting because you're exhausted, but you just watch like little landslides, and it's just like so cool. And then so that's like the climax, right? And then coming down, you can slide down the glaciers,
Oh yeah.
There's like there's snow up there, and so there's these little trails, like almost like little toboggan runs that people have worked into the snow. So we didn't bring any, like snow pants or sled or anything. You just sit down and
you just go down.
You just go down.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, it's so much fun. That's like the dessert,
Yeah.
It was the coolest hike ever. It was really good.
Dude, that is awesome, man. I'm gonna have to make my way up to Oregon so I can wait, is Mount St. Helens, that's in Oregon?
It's actually in Washington.
Yeah, okay,
Southwest
for sure.
Washington. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to make my way up there. My girlfriend and I were actually planning on going on a trip from where we were at in like Ventura and taking the one all the way up to Washington. But we decided that
that'd be really nice.
It'd be really fun, but also it'd be kind of expensive. And we were like, maybe we should just, save a little and we'll do it again sometime soon. So, because what we wanted to do really was like, go camping along the way. And I have like a 4Runner that we like to sleep in the back of and like camp out of and whatnot. But it's also a V8. So we're like calculating how much it would cost to like do that trip with that truck. And it would probably, be darn near $1,000 worth of gas.
Yeah. I'm sure the coastal road is like pretty curvy and
so we're like,
though.
Yeah. So maybe one day we'll do it in a Prius or something. I don't know. We'll see.
There you go. Yeah.
Anyways, Mount St. Helens hike. We'll keep that one in mind, dude. That sounds sick. So cool. All right, Maddie, do you want to take us into our next topic here?
Oh God, we can begin. We can go back to the beginning of time. So I didn't know this until I'd gone to your website there, Daryl, but you were born in Missouri in 1975, and you graduated from Missouri State University with a bachelor's of music composition, which in 1998, which I think has colored a good chunk of the Pulse of Bender music. But I am curious because it comes up in a lot of the interviews you've done. A few key artists, Steve Roach, The Future Sounds of London, and then a little bit of the Artificial Intelligence series on Warp. How in the mid to late 90s there were you discovering music like that? How were you a child of kind of the 80s that loved synthesizers and 80s pop? How were you finding these sounds?
Yeah, so like just being a kid in the 80s, you hear synths all over the radio. Like all the pop music was just laden with synthesizers. And I didn't, as a kid, I didn't even know what a synthesizer was. But those sounds definitely made it in to me. And I really, like connected with those sounds. And then went to college in 95. And it was during that time that I started getting into electronic music. And there was like a whole like crop of stuff coming out of the UK at that time. Aphex Twin and the Orb and Future Sound of London, like you said, like there's like kind of ambient sort of electronic music. And I also listened to music from the Hearts of Space a lot. It was like a radio program, like an ambient program that's still going.
Nice.
But
what station? Yeah, what station?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, but it's not on the air where I live, but you can stream it. But yeah, that's a great program. So yeah, I think I must have like subscribed to like Keyboard Magazine or Electronic Musician Magazine. That's probably how I learned about some of the new music coming out at that time.
You weren't active on any listservs or kind of email stuff at the time?
No, you're right. I was, yeah, because like in '95 when I went away to college is when I first got on the internet at the computer lab there at school, and I was also into prog rock a lot, so I was researching that. But then, yeah, I don't remember where I was reading about electronic music actually, but it was probably magazines and maybe on the early days of the web a little bit too. In southern Missouri and in Springfield, where I went to college there was like not anything going on, so I felt really isolated. Like I was hearing about like rave culture and all this stuff, and there was just like
none of that there.
Yeah, there was like an occasional rave, but I didn't go to it. I didn't go to them because they seemed really commercial, and I didn't think there would be like a chill room or anything. Like I don't know. I just didn't connect with the with like the feel of it for some reason. Maybe I should have checked it out. I did go see the Orb in the mid 90s though. I drove to St. Louis and saw the Orb.
Was that right after, what was it, the third LP there, Orb Terrarium?
It was Orblivion. It was the Orblivion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of the first three, so yeah.
So that was like my one live electronic music experience. So I was like, I got to get out of Missouri. Like this place sucks. And so I moved to the West Coast. Yeah.
Did you just settle up in Portland the entire time since? You've been kind of going up and down the coast?
Yeah. No, it's kind of crazy, but I was going to move to Seattle because I had been there and I'd been to Vancouver, BC, and I really loved the Pacific Northwest. And I was but like I had a professor who told me you should check out Portland, and I'd never even heard of it actually. But so I just loaded up right after I graduated. I just loaded up my car which was a Geo Metro.
That's sick, dude. That's
6 in the
cool.
back. Yeah, my Juno 6 like in the back, and drove out. I went through Denver and was like, didn't want to live there. And then I like made it to the coast. That was cool. And then I went into Portland, and that morning I got like a cup of coffee and a newspaper, and I saw that rents were like half of what they were in Seattle.
Oh, really?
And I just liked the city. I just liked the feel of it. And so I got an apartment that day.
Oh, wow.
And I haven't left. That's what's really weird. Like it's been that was 1998, right? So it's been a really good city for me. Like everything that I do now, from like music to like my day job and everything, just like clicked into place really well. It's been a really good place for me, you know.
That's awesome, dude. So this is a side note, but do you still have the Geo?
No, it failed the emissions test because the catalytic converter was all rusted out, so I got rid of it. But that was a great car. It was like
really,
I've always awesome gas mileage. Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. I always read about Geos, and all I read about them is that they were like, I don't know, people call them the worst cars ever made.
No. So it's actually just it's a Suzuki that's rebadged.
Really?
Like an American car. So it's like a Japanese car. They're really good.
Yeah.
Really reliable, very cheap. Like all that, like the door handle would snap off, and they're definitely like an economy car. Everything, all the plastic stuff would break, but the engine was like rock solid. The transmission and everything was like really reliable. And because it was like 3 cylinders, it got like I recall it getting like 42 miles to a gallon, but
oh my God, that's like hybrid
in the
status.
90s. Yeah, exactly. But like very low power. Like if you're going up a big hill, it's like you're off on the right because
you're struggling.
It cracks me because I drive a Honda Fit, and I think it maxes out at 31.9. That's as much as I've ever seen it go up to on gas mileage. And it has the same thing. It's a motorcycle engine. It runs efficiently, but going up a hill, it wants to die. It's not having a good day.
I still love small cars though. Like ever since that, I still have a tiny car. But anyway, we are not here to talk about cars.
That was an interesting conversation though, because I've never met anybody that's had a Geo, so that was kind of sick.
It's like the dorkiest car ever. Yeah. But it's like a hatchback. It's pretty cool. Anyway, sorry.
Thank you though for that. Just so I guess that brings us then. You're in Portland. It's 1998. This is pre-2003, and you have implied there's a good chunk of music under your name that's not worth seeking out. But I am curious about this music in that what separates it from that between the 2003 start of Pulse Emitter? Is the Pulse Emitter really defined by the modular synthesizer you were kind of building up to that point?
Yeah, totally. That's a great question. Like a lot of the stuff that I was doing in the 90s was like I was just kind of trying different things. I was learning how to do this and that with the different equipment that I had, and it was really limited, and it's kind of all over the place. Like some of it is kind of very inspired by like IDM, and then ideally like glitchy beats and stuff, and other stuff is got like a lot of samples. Like I would sample the TV, and like put it in the music. Like they did that a lot, like the orb and stuff like that. And I feel like that doesn't age well at all. Not to mention clearing the samples is like you're like listening to like some ambient music, and there's like a Star Trek: The Next Generation sample, and there's no way you're ever gonna like be able to put that out without getting in trouble. But anyway, there's actually, to be honest, there's the 3 best pieces I ever did back then. I'm gonna put those out this winter. Like
wow, that's sick.
I did some ambient experiments that were like my first successful attempts at it that I think are still good, and I'm going to put those out. But basically I was just kind of floundering and not really able to find like an original voice, I guess. And then I started building a modular from scratch, like soldering it and stuff like that.
That's crazy.
I was in electronics school at that time. And that was like 2002. I started soldering that thing together. I was getting really kind of I almost had like writer's block. Like I had all these plugins and I had a bunch of keyboards and synths and stuff, and I wasn't really able to be creative. Like I wasn't like I couldn't get in the creative zone. And then I started building these modules that were like really primitive and really noisy. And I was just so like thrilled to have this, like these are like really raw sounding analog modules, like these like analog little instruments. And at that same time I kind of got I kind of discovered like the noise music scene, which was there and pretty big in Portland and on the West Coast. And I went on a little West Coast tour with a band from California called Moth Dracula, an
That's
LA
sick.
band. And so I got into, I kind of like, I went to like music school. I got a composition degree, studied classical music, just tried all these different styles. And then I just kind of like wiped it all away and started like over just doing like this non-tonal like noise music. Right. And that's when I started with the Pulse Emitter name, like in 2002, 2003, something like that.
Oh, wow.
And then the funny thing is I did noise music for a number of years, and then I started incorporating more melodic material, and then I kind of like took it like totally into a new place, and it's kind of related to some of the stuff I had done before. But anyway, so.
No, I'd seen one of the early pieces, and what struck me about it, I think it was a 2007 or 6, that it was far noisier than anything I'd heard you do in any capacity. It was like modular synth, kind of fun noise, but it's got a bit of that. If you like IDM, you'll probably enjoy this. It was fascinating to hear. It's a complete trip.
Yeah, right. And I, like a lot of other people might have changed their artist name at some point when the music changed that much, so as to not kind of confuse the listeners. but I didn't do it because it was a gradual change, So
yeah, I think that's kind of sick. It's like a timeline. You can kind of see the growth, the change. You know what I mean?
Right. And since then I've kind of done a few other projects that I did decide, okay, this needs a new name. Like it's just too different from Pulse Emitter. And also it's there's like that catalog is kind of huge already.
Yeah.
And so
in particular, because on your website you even list, like, if you're looking for this particular type of Pulse Emitter sound, go to this release or go to this one. And a really helpful guide, but I am wondering, like, what to you stands as probably the most, like, the first notable release that you had done in the late aughts or early 10s with a label or self-release?
Yeah, I think Cosmic Images, that one was probably a big turning point for me. Because that was like more or less one of the first ones where I was like the melodic material really took the forefront, and the noise element, it's still there, but it's kind of in the backseat a little bit, but it's still a combination of the two. And for that one, I had this book of photos, like Hubble Space Telescope photos.
Oh, that's sick.
And so I had them like set up on a music stand while I was writing, and I'd find one that, I was just really inspired me. And then the music would just be based on that and titled the name of whatever Eagle Nebula or whatever Triangulum Galaxy. Or
that's cool.
So it's like very, very cosmic. And that one I self-released, and I made 1,000 CDs. I still have boxes. I definitely made too many, but I liked it so much that I was like, I want 1,000 copies of this thing.
How did you get Daniel Lopatin to do the cover art there for it?
Well, I mean, back then he was like in the same scene, like, at the same kind of level as everyone else. And he had his own label, and I liked the artwork that he did for his own releases. And I had already been in touch with him and stuff like that. So I'd met him at like some fests, and we were emailing and stuff like that. And so I just asked him if he would do it. And yeah.
Was there, because I mean, I've kind of heard bits of that, but so like in that kind of 2007 to 2010 window, were there a lot of synthesizer kind of festivals or stuff really going on across that you were getting tuned into?
Yeah, there's like well for example, there's like the No Fun Fest was
Yeah.
one that was in New York, and there was On Land Fest in San Francisco, and it like I it's kind of weird, but I wasn't the only one who like started from the noise scene and then progressed into this kind of Berlin school, new age synth, like bedroom synth sort of stuff. Like there was a bunch of other people doing doing that also.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a whole thing, and we weren't. I wouldn't say we were like copying each other. It just kind of all we're all interested at the same time in doing something similar. And I mean, obviously we did listen to each other's tapes and stuff like that. And I'm sure there was inspiration, there, but like Emeralds, for example. Yeah. Right. That's a pretty good example.
They're having a great little reissue moment. I saw someone on online, they had made a bootleg of their big 2010 editions Mango release, but it was a bootleg. They claim it's a bootleg, even though they went out of their way to put the Ghostly International logo on it. That suggested maybe they're going to do a big reissue for it next year on tape and everything. Does it look like here? I'm holding out a lot of hope for that. I'd love a tape.
Yeah, I'll keep my eye out for that. Great stuff. Yeah, I love that. I love that project. But yeah, there's like there was a lot of there was a bunch of fests and stuff like that. And I went on tour. I went to Europe a few times back then on tour. Yeah.
I'm gonna let my dog out real quick. I'll be right back.
All right.
What a wild moment, though. I mean, that just kind of snapped in my head, and I just remembered that I'd seen other little bits of synth stuff, and a lot of those acts outside of the big ones, I kind of, for us, have been forgotten, or we don't dig, I think, as hard into them. So it's good to hear.
Yeah.
So how was?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, looking back, it was a pretty cool moment in time. It was like a pretty good scene back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, how was your Europe trip? Like what came out of that when you toured Europe?
The first time that I went, and I wish I had the dates in front of me, I think it was like 2007 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went just on my own accord, and I hooked up with Birds of Delay, this UK duo, and Family Battlesnake, and I just kind of jumped on their tour, kind of like, and it was real DIY, and it was pretty fun.
That's sick.
So we were in Denmark and Belgium, and then the second time was pretty neat because there was this festival in Newcastle called Tusk, and they flew me out and they set up a tour and everything, and I had
that's crazy.
I had a schedule, like a tour book I had to follow, and all the tickets, and it was 8 shows in 8 nights, and like all in a row. It's like bouncing around. It was pretty exhausting.
Yeah, wow.
Honestly, it was like going from like Spain to France and just like all over the place. So in a way, the first one was almost more fun because there were some days off in between. But the second one was more like a job. It was like getting, guaranteed pay each show and everything. It's pretty weird because, I don't know, like certain shows, I don't feel like the music went over that well. I kind of felt like I was coming from this like West Coast of the US, like new age music.
Yeah.
Sort of thing that had been going on. And, and then took it over there, and I feel like some of the shows, at least one of them, they even told me afterwards. It was like some of the audience members were like, "Yeah, we normally have noise music at this venue." It was like they booked me because I was a noise artist, right? But I had meanwhile kind of progressed into like being a new age artist.
Yeah.
So it didn't always hit right. You can tell, like you play a show and then like the applause is like really meager, right?
Oh wow, that's so
Were these
interesting.
venues like were you playing to like a dozen or 2 dozen people at most on some of these? Or?
It really differed. Like this one particular show was in Paris, and it was a pretty big show. There was at least 100 people there, and it was
Oh my god, wow.
pretty decent club, but it was like a noise club,
So interesting.
and I had some noise going on, but also like slow keyboard sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular show didn't go so well. But then there was some other shows that were a lot smaller. So it kind of really differed. And then that Tusk festival in Newcastle was like really big.
Nice.
That's so sick.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because like I don't always feel like my live sets live up to my recordings, especially back then.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know. I actually put an album of live recordings up on Bandcamp a couple of years ago because I mean there were some that were great, but it was really like improvisational, and I often didn't want to like play my existing songs, so it was like they're kind of a little hit and miss, and I don't know. It was always exhilarating, but it was really kind of like they didn't always live up to the albums. I feel like the albums are always more important to me than playing shows. But I mean, I wouldn't want to go without playing shows because I really do love it. I don't know, the one I played this year, I played an ambient church show, and that
sick, dude,
went really well because I knew how big it was.
Yeah,
and I was super excited about it, and I planned it like to a T, and I practiced for like a few months, right?
Yeah.
So it was like the best, hands down, like the best show I ever did.
That's sick.
And that's how they should all be,
Yeah.
I mean, going forwards, I kind of feel less inclined to like take a show and then have it be like, I don't know. It's a lot of effort, and well, with COVID, I'm not playing as many shows anymore anyway, which is really sad. I really miss it. Really miss it.
How, especially because I know you had done one for Hasu Mountains 2021 online Twitch stuff. How was that? You were just improvising it, or just feeling out the space and just kind of the web stream of it?
Those two went really well. I did two for them. The first one was actually live. The second one was they were just playing pre-recorded sets. But I really love the streaming shows. I wish they were still, I wish those were still going on, because you got the chat room, it's still like a social thing, and it was the way an in-person show is. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, I got multiple cameras. I kind of got my gear set up to be able to like record it, and stream. And I did a few other streaming things, and I really liked streaming,
I always thought that the Hazu streams were fun.
They were so fun.
Yeah, I really liked
that, and the Tone Glows I still think held up the best. The Hasu one I really loved just because everyone they got was always going to be really good. You get to see Food Man just play with his digits, or it was Haley for of Circuit Disco, and she dropped into the chat room to just offer the context to her piece, and it was just her yodeling. She's just going to do a wild yodel.
Yeah. And
it was like wild one-offs of stuff like that. Or on I can't say it on the air, but Moth C, the great cat and other gentlemen of that duo who have the Whipped Stream cassette. Which that's all their material off of that. Those were really lovely.
Those were there were so many wild sets, and the stuff he played in between sets was also really psychedelic and entertaining. And
all right, Maddie, take us into our next chat.
We should probably try to figure out, though, what's going on in this Pulse Emitter, or really this Daryl Gretsch 2020 to 2022, maybe 2019 to 2023 era. Who cares about numbers? But the technology behind your most recent releases has shaken up, supposedly. I've been talking with some people online. There was one gentleman, Chuck, you had done a tape with on crash cymbals years ago.
Yeah.
He was curious, and we were as well. So at what point had you begun to integrate the iPad and really kind of just swap to doing the mobile recording that you had mentioned way back?
Yeah, I recently looked at like when I got my iPad, because it still feels like a new thing, but I got my first iPad. It's like 8 years ago or 9 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
My dad's is 9 years old, so I know how that is. First, just like one day it shows up, and just next, you've just been part of the life. But it still feels
I know, because I remember when it first came out, I was like, I'll never need that thing.
Yeah.
And then like within a few years, I have one. But like I kind of use it for individual voices, or I'd use one app at a time, and like I used it a lot on that Digital Rainforest album that I did for Beer on the Rug, because there's a lot of like experimental apps in there that just do things you couldn't do with anything else. But it wasn't until just the past few years that I started using it. I mean, I got like an iPad Pro because my older iPad couldn't kind of keep up with like having multiple things running at once, and the screen was small. So now I've got like a whole ecosystem going on in there, like I use that AUM as like a DAW, too many acronyms, I know, but it's like I have
workstation,
it's like I have like multiple synths, multiple effects going, and all these MIDI sequencers, like really creative MIDI sequencers that are, I mean, I use like Logic Pro on my laptop, sure, but like there's all these really creative sequencer apps that are like generative in nature, that people write, and it only exists as an iPad app. And some of those are like really inspiring. I really love that. So I started using it as like a serious like compositional tool, just like you said, the past few years. And I started doing it for this like just like pure like deep ambient music that I've kind of always wanted to do. There's like examples from the Pulse Emitter catalog where it's trying to do that like Hearts of Space, like super far out ambient, but I could never really suppress my ego enough to make it as minimal as I wanted to. And so I finally like this year basically started earlier this year, started getting that sort of music down, and I was able to do it by using the iPad and like just sitting not in the studio, like, and like I'm writing music, I gotta like focus, but just like I'm just like chilling out with my iPad and making like this super minimal, really peaceful ambient music, and just and like letting it roll, and then slowly changing it. And so I started like getting that to where I was able to do that sort of music, and mostly all on the iPad. And then I just very quickly like made like 30 songs that way. And or more. I just kept going and going, and of course a bunch of them are I reject, but and that stuff was like so minimal. I really didn't want to call it Pulse Emitter. I wanted to call it under as my own name, as Daryl Gretsch, because that's like the kind of music I've been wanting to do for years. And it's kind of weird that music that's simple would be difficult, but I've struggled to like kind of calm down enough to like make music that's that like ambient,
So that includes even like on Swirlings and the Oral Canyon collaborative you did with PJS. Which to me, both of those kind of are hinting at that.
You're right. Yeah.
And that was the PJS split. That was my first Pulse Emitter release.
Okay.
Way back. Yeah. So like because the label had sent that to me in 2020, and I knew the name from the acid test features, the coverage of Hasu Mountain, a new Pulse Emitter, and it was so exciting, but also having no intro into it, and that was a great intro I found. But
cool. Yeah.
Coming off of that, and this is something that really fascinated me. 2021, you didn't really have any releases. You had Voids, this archival 2008 cassette that I think is excellent. That one might be my favorite.
Thanks. Yeah, that and that one's like from like the noise era, right?
Yeah. It's
yeah.
The noises. I mean, okay, yeah, there is some noise stuff there, and it with all the context you provided, it makes more sense, but it's also equally as minimal. That's a dark vacuum of a cassette. It's just out there. And it feels like such a great contrast, and then go from that to the work that's been under your name, which skimmed parts of, and the tracks are really blissful. You can just chill with them. To Dusk, how did you know with Dusk these pieces were going to be under the Pulse Emitter name? And then I'll ask that later. Yeah.
Right. So like when I did Swirlings, the LP for Housey Mountain in early 2020, I already kind of knew that I wanted to do something really colorful for that label, and I think that was like the only thing that Max said is like make each track like have a lot of variety. I think was like the only like pointer I was given. Obviously they let artists on their label do what they want, but I like remember him saying that, like, have some variety. So in other words, they didn't want like an album where it's like side A is a big long drone or something like that, right? So so I threw the kitchen sink into it and made it like each track its own little world, and I decided that that's what I wanted to do again. When they invited me to do another one, which became Dusk, which just came out. I have been collecting tracks ever since Swirlings that were recorded like in a variety of ways, kind of every way that I know how to make music. There's a little bit of it on that album, and some tracks that I reject. There's always a lot of rejected tracks, but so I kind of feel like Pulse Emitter now is a project where I really kind of slave over the songs and tweak them indefinitely and have like sequences and like arpeggiations and things like that, kind of which I've been doing for a long time, like a lot of motion, a lot of experimentation. I think that's like in like the nature of the project is that there's experimentation there. And then when I just want to make ambient music, it's under my own name. So yeah.
This is a big leap, 20 years into the project.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so like I could make another album under my own name, like in a few months, like this winter, probably, who knows, but like Pulse Emitter, I don't have anything for the next Pulse Emitter album. It's like, I haven't done anything for it yet. Yeah. But I'll for the next few years, I'll be working on it, and I don't know. I guess I shouldn't speak to what's going to happen in the future, but I mean, it seems to me that project, I work really hard on those songs and try to make them like really like interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my goal. It's like interesting.
Delicious. They are delicious cuts.
Yeah, they are really good. Yeah, it's sick.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. What also got me at the end was the final cut on Dusk is another throwback to that voice again.
Right.
So is there more sound there that you are kind of gonna unearth from that era? Do you feel like, hey, maybe that noise you do want to return to in some capacity? It felt strange just getting another callback to it. It really suggested to me like there might be
right. And that's kind of the funny thing is, I mean, you mentioned Voids, but I also had this one called Crack of Stone that I released just right around that same time. That's noise, well, it's not like harsh noise, like really aggressive. You could almost say it's more like dark ambient or something like that. But it's like droney, noisy stuff, and that's like new material that I did in that vein. So and yeah, the last track on Dusk is that sort of stuff. And I have a bunch of that stuff recorded. like quality cuts that I haven't released, and I'm not sure what or when or why or how. Like I don't feel any pressure to release it, and I almost do want to like have it under a different name. Like I don't know, it just confuses. I think it messes with my brand, if you will, if I'm like putting out like this like really grimy murky noise stuff that's like I how many people really enjoy like Dusk, this new one, and then also, you know, like the arpeggiator laden like new age stuff, and then also listen to like really dark like tectonic drone stuff.
It's so no, the circles are not they're not the same. I feel you.
Yeah. I mean, you do. You listen to both those things, but
I heard both. I love them.
Yeah, right. But I kind of wonder if I should have another name. But I feel like, you know, the project is always, you know, used to do that stuff, so I can still incorporate it. And it's not out of place. It's part of the lineage, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's go ahead, Maddie. Sorry.
This one, I guess, brings us though to kind of something that goes in a little bit further questioning. So you had a tweet way back at the start of the year. This was a fun one where you said ambient music, so serious, not enough humor in it. I try to add some levity to mine. Not sure it comes through. And you were asking for examples of humor in ambient, which, again, going back to the orb going to KLF, I think those are like really clear-cut examples of having that. But, and then again, talking about your 2020 release on Hasu Mountain, like, do you see, though, what to you are ways that you want to get more humor or more of that kind of spark into Pulse Emitter or your stuff under your own name?
Yeah, I mean, I think listening to some of the tracks off of the new one, they there's all these like flute samples and bell sounds and kind of major key sort of stuff, and I don't think many people would say that that's like really like kind of somber sounding or anything. You know, it's pretty kind of fruity sounding stuff, you know. It's like it has some levity to it, and I don't it might have a cheesy element to it, one might say, and I embrace that. I don't mind that. I know Hasu Mountain has said similar things, like they you know, it's like blurring the line between what is cheesy and what isn't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I never like, can't believe I even used the word to like call my own music cheesy, but I just do what I want to do. And if there's any, you know, tongue in cheek aspect to it, then I think that's a good thing. Like sometimes, like a lot of ambient music is really, really serious. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, come on, can we have some fun with that?
I do feel that way about ambient, like at least some of the stuff that I see, because I feel like at least me and Maddie float around in like a very specific scene of like ambient and stuff. But like on like Reddit and whatnot, I'm in like a couple ambient like communities where they're posting stuff that I've literally never heard of, and it seems like so serious. At least like the stuff that I follow or the stuff that I listen to and stuff, it seems a lot more lighthearted, more like DIY, more down to earth. Whereas the other stuff, like I remember I would like post stuff in these other communities and I would get downvoted sometimes of like the stuff that I'm listening to. And I'm just like, oh, this is weird. I don't even know if I want to be here. So I think I like left those communities, but
I know what you mean. And like a lot of those albums, like the cover art is like really,
it's like they're
like CGI, like real, like beautiful, like.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're trying to take themselves like very seriously.
Yeah.
And like it almost makes me feel like, all right, this is the type of stuff that I would hear in like a massage parlor and wouldn't care about anyways. You know what I mean? Or something like that. And it's like, there's like no scene to
and
this.
And there's so much music like that too. Yeah. Like it seems to be like what a lot of ambient composers strive to be like is to have this cinematic artwork and like the music is like, and I like some stuff like that. I do.
I think it all has a context, but I'm thinking of like the labels that I really love, like Constellation Tatsu or Geographic North, or again with Hasu Mountain. What comes through those of ambient is really, really stretching at the bounds, or it has glitches. It's just playful.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
A lot of the stuff on Constellation Tatsu this year, I gave them the fall batch they did. Huge props on that because it was just very natural. It was short and it actually really felt transportive in a way that also wasn't super serious.
That is a great label and a great example of like ambient music that's not, it doesn't take itself so seriously.
Yeah.
And I think music that's created more like in a bedroom than in a studio. I mean, even if it is a studio, it's like I just there's something better about it. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. I think we're down to our last question, right, Maddie?
Well,
our last one that we have, right?
We've teased out a bit of the future, I suppose, but if you do have anything else that you think 2023 is going to lead for the Daryl Gretsch or Pulse Emitter or a different moniker.
Well, I mean, there's like a 7-inch that's kind of already out. It was kind of released. It's on a German label, and I just got my copies, and I'll be listing that for sale pretty soon. Here, it's my first 7-inch ever.
Oh, sick!
Pulse Emitter 7-inch, yeah. And I am working on more material under my own name, under my birth name. Kind of slowly at this point. I have that one album I just mentioned of stuff I did like in the 90s that I'm going to put out pretty soon. I imagine this winter sometime.
That is very exciting.
That's sick.
I really want to hear those pieces.
I do too.
Okay, yeah.
I really want to hear. I loved Tim Thornton's house recordings that he did from Tiger Village as a teenager. He put up his 97 to 2000, and all his liner notes were him in real time documenting, learning different things about music he liked or just getting tech. And I found that to just see a teen in real time figure it out.
Well, I have like all this like kind of IDM stuff and all this off the wall stuff, and I don't know that I'll ever release that. But these 3 ambient tracks, I still, when I listen to them, I feel like it's like pretty timeless stuff and like pretty well done stuff. I still really like these bits, and I have edited them some because and I wasn't sure if I wanted to mess with it, but I did because there's like some samples thrown in there, some spoken word samples. And there's like so it's like, okay, I'm gonna cut that out because I just like there's a few things that I added that kind of ruined it, but I still think the bulk of it is good, and it needed more like up to date, like modern reverb. So I cut out some of the stuff I didn't like, and I've done some like, I guess like remixing kind of like. But anyway, yeah. That's really all I got to say about what I'm working on. I guess I'm working on something that I don't want to say yet because I don't know if it's going to be successful yet. So I'll just say it, and then if it's not successful, then But I'm working on a guided meditation, which I had done for like Crash Cymbals, where I did the music. And my friend Chuck, who you mentioned you talked to, did like the guided part, but I'm doing both this time.
Oh, sick!
I'm writing the meditation because meditation is something that I've gotten into past few years, and so I'm like writing the meditation and the music, and probably self-release that, but
awesome.
But it's not, it's nowhere near done, and maybe it'll fail and I won't do it, but I'm working on it.
That's cool.
Have you been contacted in any capacity by Floating? Because I know they're doing in Los Angeles guided meditations and other various strange kind of ambient happenings.
What is Floating?
Floating feels like Floating or Floating. It's tied to Leaving Records and the Never Content label. Noah Klein runs Floating, I believe, and they've been putting on shows across Los Angeles and Griffith Park, down in Pasadena, in Santa Monica, just weekend gatherings that kind of combine all different stuff. American Dreams is doing a residency. International Anthem did a residency. Several Cranky alum have passed through. Just all kinds.
Mm-hmm.
Noah used to promote with Ambient Church as well.
That was
Dude's just been in the scene forever.
Okay.
Yeah, real chill guy.
Nice. Yeah, I'll look that up. No, I haven't been invited to do any of those, but
Be sick.
But I would love to do more awesome shows. Like the Ambient Church show. That was killer.
That sounds like
I think you would really enjoy like a floating show. So maybe one day that'll happen.
What sort of venues are those at?
They're all outdoors. It's sick.
Sorry. Yeah, you said that. Yeah, outdoors.
Yeah, they're all in
wonderful.
like parks. Like Noah's also like a naturalist. Like he's a certified like naturalist or whatever. So he'll like take people on like the whole crowd on like a nature walk, and then like they'll end up like in the area where they're gonna have the show. And then, it's sick.
I would love to do something like that.
The Griffith Park one was wild because you can see the Hollywood sign, but they do it in a man-made quarry. And the quarry is where all of the B movies were shot. If you've ever seen like Robot Monster or Teenagers from Outer Space, any of the old Mystery Science theaters, you may recognize a quarry that you're just there. You're there as part of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Or going to the Japanese, it wasn't a tea garden, I believe, but just a Japanese koi garden.
Yeah.
In Pasadena, and they did a guided breathing meditation. That was
crazy.
Really, really awe-inspiring. And I think that helped me with a lot of different music I was looking into this year. I give that a lot of credit to just like, this is really good stuff when you can share this in a community environment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it sounds wonderful. Yeah, I like guided meditation a lot. So I would love to do more stuff like that.
You'll have to take a look.
In a public setting or whatever. Yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah.
We got some fan questions here. Are you ready to take those?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Maddie. Do you want me to take some or?
You go for it, Thomas.
Okay, so Doug from Hazu Mountain is asking us to ask you about Star Trek. Tell us anything about Star Trek that you love.
Oh man, Star Trek. Yeah, I was raised with Star Trek. Like I would watch the original series, like with my dad and my brother, before I could understand the plot, but just seeing like Kirk and Spock and everything was like really, really inspiring. And then, when The Next Generation came out, I watched the very first episode. I was like watching it live, right? Like when they broadcast it. And I remember the first season, there's that episode, Skin of Evil, where there's like that oil slick. It's like this monster thing. Remember that like very, very strongly. And then like when I was in college, Deep Space Nine was on, and I got like really, really into Deep Space Nine. I still feel like that's the best era is Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. I think Voyager is really underrated.
So are those all like Star Trek series? Those are all like
those are all
cool.
Those are all Star Trek. Yeah. Voyager is awesome. Really, really good.
I never yeah, seriously, I never dove too deep into Star Trek, but I feel like I should just because everybody hypes it up. You know what I mean?
Well, right. The funny thing is, I don't watch it anymore. I've seen all those episodes numerous times each, and I'm kind of done with it. But I love the Orville, and I love the new Picard. The Orville is not Star Trek, but it's like Seth MacFarlane's take on it. So it's
I see.
Like comedy.
Oh,
but it's
I see,
really good. It's like really good science fiction, but it's like hilarious as well.
I'll have to look into that. That sounds sick too.
Yeah,
what's it called again?
Yeah, it's
Orville.
The Orville. Yeah. it's like a really, really good show. Yeah.
That's sick. All right. Well, this next one, it says Elt. Is that how you pronounce that, Maddie?
LTD.
Elt asks, what's your favorite Hazu Mountain release?
I think I would have to say the M. Geddes Gengrass one.
Dude, that one's so good.
Oh,
yeah.
Everyone's coming out for that one.
Dude, seriously, that one got so much hype at the end of the year.
Yeah, right. It did. Yeah, it was like on some Bandcamp best ambient of the year list, I think. Right.
Bandcamp Pop Matters.
It's really good.
Uh-huh.
We
I
had,
make the tabs out list. Who could say that for certain? Oh, gee.
yeah, right. We had
Yeah, that's gorgeous. And I was a little late to the party. I mean, I think it came out like 6 months ago or something, and I only kind of recently finally listened to it. It's so good. It's I should know the name off the top of my head, but it's
Expressed.
Yeah, I kind of right. Very good. I mean, I definitely like Fire Tools, and I would need to look at my stack of tapes and the Angel's other project,
Non-local.
the non-local forecast is really, really good. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the most recent M. Geddes Gengrass.
Dude, we had Ged on the show a while back. Honestly, one of the biggest chillers I think we've ever talked to.
And a great ceramic student.
Yeah, he's a ceramic student.
His teacher's really proud of him. And Ged, we're proud of you too, if you're listening.
Dude, Ged is so sick. Honestly, shout out Ged if you hear this. You're a chiller. All right, so this next one says, what is your dream venue to play at? What is your dream venue to play at and set of material to perform?
Which kind of teetered around or tiptoed.
Yeah.
And sorry, so the dream venue, and then what was the second part? Set up.
The dream set of material.
Yeah.
Oh, the dream set of material, like what I would play.
Yeah. What would you perform? Yeah.
Well, I think I would like to do a show at like a ruin in Mexico. Like,
dude, that'd be sick.
Teotihuacan or something like that.
Yeah.
Like some like a Mayan ruin or something like that.
Dude, that would be pretty cool.
Off the top of my head. I mean, I played churches, and those are great venues, but it'd be cool to play a sacred site that's like even older than that, you know.
Yeah,
and also
cool.
like kind of abandoned, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. An Aztec or a Mayan ruin would be pretty great.
That'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, just off the top of my head.
All right. Well, I think that kind of does it for our list of fan questions here. But we, I guess before we go, where can people keep up with all things Daryl Gresh and Pulse Emitter?
Well, I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, I have a website, darylgretsch.com, and I keep everything on there, but the social media stuff, Facebook, whatever.
Yeah.
I do those three for the time being anyway.
Sick.
Probably the best thing. I don't have a newsletter anymore. I stopped doing that.
Oh, sick. You used to do a newsletter. That's cool. Okay, so we do actually have one more question, and it's kind of the biggest of the show. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Do you want me to take it, Maddie, or do you want to take it?
Thomas, you got this one this time.
Okay. So a rat is going to jump in your mouth. Do you want this rat to jump into your mouth head first or butt first, and why? And so the scenario is you're playing a noise venue in Berlin, and you are shocked by the amount of applause you get, and you look up and this rat just dives, it just goes straight for your mouth. And is it going to go in head first or butt first?
Definitely head first. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, saliva even from a rat is nowhere near as nasty as poop from anything. So.
That's a fair point. Fair point.
People don't bring up the lot. I mean, they sometimes talk about the back of the rat like that, but they don't bring up the spit. They don't put that as a pro.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's really good.
Yeah, that's a good one. Honestly, I love this question because it's like a real deep dive into this person. Like, I don't know how their thought processes. You know what I mean? Like you were like, yeah, saliva is not as bad as the poop. We've never heard anybody mention the saliva, dude. I'm telling you, it's different every time. We've done this hundreds of times at this point.
Yeah,
it's sick.
It's a good question. It's I'm curious what other people answered. I'll have to look at your other.
You'll have to listen through the interviews and just skip to the very end of like them, so you can just get that last part and just be like, okay,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just forget everything. I just get to the meat
I
of it.
want to learn what type of person they are based on how they answer the rat question. All right. Well, thanks again, Daryl. That's all we have for today. Thanks for tuning into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. and NetNet Radio every Saturday, 4 p.m. This has been Pulse Emitter. Thanks again.
Thanks so much, guys. That was really fun.